Good morning and welcome to Catalyst Virtual Thought Leadership Webinar. My name is Dave Mason and I am the Director of Sales and Marketing for our company. For some, this is your first interaction with Catalyst. For others, you know us quite well. For those that don't know our company, we are the Northwest premier commercial furniture provider of Herman Miller products. And as of this very moment, we would like to announce that we have entered into a mutually agreed upon letter of intent with Western Office of Seattle to formally represent Herman Miller as well as Knoll products. This acquisition readies us to become the first Herman Miller and Knoll dealer in the Puget Sound. Our company, now more than ever, stands out amongst the sea of commercial furniture companies in our region. Catalyst differentiates ourselves with our creative and collaborative approach to each individual client. We strive to become a trusted advisor for all of our customers by using a frictionless and efficient process. These thought leadership webinars are an opportunity for us to share the latest in trends and ideas, and we are thrilled that you have taken the time out of your busy schedules to join us today. Please do take note of the Q&A and chat section below. I'll be checking questions as we progress through the program today, so please post them as we move along. Also, there's a very short survey at the end of the webinar. If you would just take 60 seconds to answer the short list of questions that will pop up prior to hitting the leave button, we would greatly appreciate it. As DJ Dupree once famously said, in the long run, businesses and business leaders will be judged not by their profits or their products, but by their impact on humanity. To us at Catalyst, sustainability impacts the way we do business on a daily basis. Our partner MillerKnoll has been at the forefront of the sustainability charge with their work on a variety of important initiatives. Our esteemed guest today, Gabe Wing, is the Director of Sustainability for MillerKnoll. He is responsible for managing the company's sustainability efforts, including sustainable product design, environmental footprint reduction, as well as safety. His goal is to create a better world, which Gabe proudly says is the best job in the entire MillerKnoll company. He has played an important role in developing the environmental policies of Herman Miller since joining the company way back in 2001. Among his contributions is the integration of sustainable design principles into Herman Miller's innovation process. We're so thankful to have you join us today, Gabe. I'll turn it over to you.
Great. Hey, thanks, Dave, and good morning, I believe, to everyone. I'm going to share my screen and start my presentation. All right. So I'm going to jump right in because I know we've got a limited amount of time today. And building on some of Dave's comments, right? We're excited because we're in the middle of an acquisition integration of Knoll into what we're calling MillerKnoll. And I just grabbed a slide from our investor presentation. And for me, the thing that I choose to highlight on this is absolutely we're bringing together two of the leaders in modern design. But we've got common ground around our culture and our values and a commitment to sustainability. And the acquisition of Knoll gives us the ability to work at a scale that we wouldn't have been able to work on our own. So I know I speak for all of the folks at MillerKnoll that we're excited about what the future holds and also our ability to make the world a better place. And I've got this timeline, and I think for me, the key takeaway for all of you is that we've been working in the area of sustainability for a long time. This isn't something that we just started, whether it's the Knoll side of our business or the Herman Miller side. If you look at this timeline, some of the key moments that I'm going to highlight this morning that stand out to me are that Knoll was the first contract furniture company in the early 2000s to join the Chicago Climate Exchange. So we were thinking about addressing climate more than 20 years ago as a collective group. And then on the Miller side, our engagement with McDonough Brown-Gart Design Chemistry and adopting the cradle-to-cradle design protocol as a way to to make our products more sustainable is something that we're certainly very proud of. And then if I fast forward to the end of this timeline, I'll cover this in more detail, but we have been working to address one of the global issues related to plastics pollution and reaching the ocean environment. Some of the work that we've been able to do to take those waste plastics and put them inside our products, that is helping us become increasingly circular and lower the carbon footprint of our products. This next slide to me it's a nod to our why as a company. And if we go back to the purpose of our organization, it's to make sure that we're designing for the good of humankind. And the work that my team does on a daily basis goes back to this purpose statement, whether it's the products we're designing or manufacturing, the places we manufacture them in, or the processes we use to produce them. All of those factor into our decision, and we look at it through the lens of, hey, are we making the world a better place? And how are we using our business to do that? So as I jump into this, I thought it would be important to frame up why CSR matters, and not just from a MillerKnoll perspective, but largely from that perspective, but also in general. What does it mean for business, and why should we be thinking about corporate social responsibility? And if we look at the state of the world, boy, there's just a lot going on. There's a lot of indicators that the way that we're operating isn't sustainable to humans long term, whether it's climate change, declining biodiversity, the fact that we're seeing less and less species thrive across our planet, rising sea levels, the hurricanes directly related to climate change. All of these are factors that you see on the screen are affecting us as people. They're affecting us as a business. And what we did was look at all of those impacts and try to determine, of those, which are we connected to from a business perspective, and then where can we make the largest impact or improvements. What's happened, I've been working in this space 20 plus years, and what was sort of a nice to have has become a business imperative. If you're not thinking about sustainability from a business perspective, you're going to have issues with your stakeholders, your shareholders, your customers. And the first thing I'd highlight on this slide is Larry Fink continues to message that the expectation for the companies that BlackRock invest in is that you should have a larger mission than simply maximizing the amount of profit. And it doesn't hurt that BlackRock happens to be the single largest shareholder for MillerKnoll at this point in time. We're also seeing that on the residential side of our business that consumers care. And when we look at the impact of our brand and the importance of it, making sure that we're clear about what we stand for so we can stand out matters. And on the contract side of our business, almost upwards of 98%, which is practically everybody who's specifying contract furniture. The RFPs are nodding to it. And what we see with those 98%, actually 23% place sustainability in the top 3 selection criteria. So the contract side of our business, if I give you a number, if that makes up $2 billion, if you do the math, it's more than $500 million worth of business that's won or lost, depending on how well we tell our sustainability story. And then specifically, if we look at clients, whether it's Google, Salesforce, Kaiser Permanente, the tech companies are leading the way, but many of our clients have laid out detailed sustainability requirements, whether it's looking for lower carbon products, looking for products that are increasingly circular, or having chemicals of concern eliminated from the product offering. We found that if we're going to be competitive in the marketplace, we definitely have to have a very strong and robust sustainability program. If we zoom out a little bit and try not to look at it so myopic from a MillerKnoll perspective, if you're thinking about running your business and you're looking at what the C-suite cares about, talent attraction and retention has to be, on the top 5 of the list. We're dealing with a great resignation right now. And in a world of choice as an employee where I can take my talents to numerous places, we know that having a strong brand in the area of sustainability is one of those things can help you attract and retain your top talent. There's also a growing connection to health and well-being. And where we used to talk to our clients exclusively about the environmental benefits of sustainability, more and more we're making the connection to health and well-being. And we know that healthcare costs are rising. And we also know that healthy environments create higher performing employees. So we create great spaces that are healthy, whether it's the chemicals inside the product, the indoor air quality, the amount of carbon dioxide in the environment, all of those things factor in. And there are huge improvements by creating great spaces in terms of employee productivity. We also know that almost every single one of our clients, the 98%, they all have their own CSR goals. And so for us, marketing and selling products, making sure that we have products that can help them achieve their respective corporate social responsibility goals is extremely important. And whether it's programs like LEAD, Living Building Challenge, or the Healthier Hospitals Initiative, providing accurate information about how our products contribute to those standards is extremely important. And I'd say our programs, we have a tool called Eco Scorecard that we've used for years on the Miller side. We're adding products on the Knoll side. We're trying to make it easy for our customers to have access for the information they're looking for as they go after those relevant rating systems. I think just as important to the products that we supply, one of the things that my team prides itself on, and I know across the board, not just related to sustainability, but it's about knowledge and thought leadership. So when you partner with an organization like MillerKnoll, we're going to execute, we're going to provide premium products, but going above and beyond that, making sure that we're helping our clients understand what the future might look like, whether it's how to redesign your space in the middle of a pandemic, or how to future-proof your organization in terms of sustainability. That's one of the things that our organization, my group especially, prides ourselves on, is being that trusted advisor for our clients and sharing the knowledge, the networks that we have to help our clients be as informed as they can be. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the opportunity to actually do good. And the magic happens when we develop long-term relationships with like-minded companies where we have the ability to work together to create a difference. And the story that I'm going to share right now is the result of a couple of employees who got involved serendipitously. And we had a marketing person in our organization who made a trip down to Haiti. Her father is a dentist, and he makes an annual trip down to Haiti to provide free dental care to various communities in the area. And as this employee was down in Haiti, she came across an organization that was taking fabric scraps and turning those fabric scraps into bags, laptop holders, and selling them for a little bit of money. And right next door to this factory where they were sewing was an orphanage. And the reason the orphanage was in place is that the women weren't always able to create enough income to keep their families together. And when our marketing person, team member came back after her trip, she happened to have lunch with somebody from my team. And he asked how her trip was, and they discussed her visit to the what's called Gift of Hope Haiti. And as part of the discussion, she went to our fabric store, our Herman Miller store, where you can buy used furniture and used textiles. And her and her mother had bought all the textiles in the store and shipped them down to this organization. And as she was talking to our environmental manager, he said, we have fabric scraps that we create all day, every day inside multiple facilities. Let's see if we can come up with a way to ship our fabric scraps down to this organization. And so they worked together, and they ended up setting up buying a couple of shipping containers that we load up with, I'd say Herman Miller. We're working on the Knoll side, as well as some of our suppliers. And we have a loop going where we're shipping our high-end designer fabrics down to these women who have used it to create and increase the quality of their goods. And shortly after we started working with this organization, we got an incredible note from the woman who was leading this organization. And she let our team know she wanted to say thank you to Herman Miller for the generous donation of time and fabric scraps, and let us know that they were able to increase the prices of their goods and add an additional shift to their operations. And the women were able to earn enough money to keep their children out of the orphanage, to buy them school clothes and send them to school. And so I think today we're looking at 20 plus families who've been impacted by this. And all of this was the result of a couple of employees going above and beyond and asking the question, hey, is there a way that we could use our waste fabric in a different way? And so I share this because it's a great story, and it's sort of a one-off. And I think my challenge to the organization is, how do we take programs like this and not make them a one-off, and find ways to leverage our business to create positive change out in the world and make people's lives better. And so when we get it right, this is the type of impact that we can have. So what if we actually started to think differently about how we operate our business? I think that's the challenge before us all today. What if we collectively think differently? What could we do? And the problem that I'm going to share is the global plastics problem. This is a snapshot that's all too common that takes place across the globe. This is what happens to our plastic waste. It leaks out in the environment, it ends up in beaches, and too much of the world looks like this. In terms of scale, today there's 86 million tons of plastic floating out in the ocean today. We add 8 million tons every year, and every minute it's like dumping a large garbage truck of waste plastic in the ocean. That's the problem we're dealing with. And so one of our customers, actually Dell, who just popped up on the screen, as we were working through helping them restack their corporate offices, as they got to know us, Dell saw this huge problem of ocean plastics and asked if we would be willing to join their group to figure out how we could turn off the tap and stop using single plastics inside our organization. And more importantly, start to set up and create demand for those waste plastics, so we'd pick them up and not just discard them out in the ocean. And so we joined that group, and you can see there's some very impressive brands here, and we're collectively working together to stand up supply chains across different parts of the world. And we're creating jobs and income for people who otherwise wouldn't have them. And we're creating a market for those waste plastics, so beaches don't look like the picture I just shared. So the big idea that we have is, hey, can we again turn off that consumption and reduce the need for those single-use plastics? And can we start to design our new products and maybe our existing products to use those ocean-bound materials and start to develop supply chains? So as we're getting started, just a snapshot of some of the work that we've been able to accomplish inside our organization is that to date, we've been able to divert 234 metric tons of ocean-bound plastic. Into context, if I want to give you some context, that's 23 million single-use water bottles that we've already been able to incorporate in some of the products that you see on the right-hand side of this screen. And our Ravinio textile collection that we launched just over a year ago is going to divert 4.6 million tons of material. So we're taking PET bottles that look like that bottle here, and those ocean-bound materials are becoming beautiful fabrics. And for us, there's no more iconic product across, I'm going to say at least the Herman Miller side of our business, than our Aeron chair. And as we were looking at what's the opportunity for us to make a difference, my team was super excited about the opportunity. Like, hey, if we're going to make an impact, a product that we want to incorporate ocean-bound plastic and start to become increasingly circular with, would be the Aeron chair. And so several of the small plastic parts, we've been able to take that waste ocean-bound plastic, whether it's the tilt cover or the plastic seat base for this chair. We've been able to incorporate ocean-bound plastic into the Onyx version of this product. So every single Onyx version of the Aeron chair has several pounds of ocean-bound plastic in it. And we're continuing to look for opportunity to take those waste materials and incorporate them across our product platform. So we're just getting started. We're not stopping with this product, but the key message for our organization and our engineers is, hey, we can use ocean-bound plastic in this particular chair. There's no reason we can't leverage that as a platform to reimagine all of the products that we create across MillerKnoll. And so if I start to wrap up and leave some time for questions here, one of the questions we have is, what is the future going to look like? Given all that, we know that we can make a difference. What should we be thinking about? So I already mentioned, we're seeing this shift from simply talking about environmental sustainability, which happens out there somewhere else, and we're starting to make the connections more obviously to health and well-being. And if we're not focused on the environmental sustainability, the planet's not going to be habitable for us as people. So there's an imperative for us to undertake this work. And when we reframe the discussion in terms of health and well-being, the number of people who are interested and engaged exponentially goes up, because sustainable environment happens out there. But when we make the connection to health and well-being, it becomes acutely personal for many more people. So conceptually, a lot of what we're talking about is moving from this notion of being less bad and talking about, hey, I'm going to use X% less water, or I'm going to reduce my hazardous waste 10%. And that's where we were. This transition that our corporation on is, like, again, leveraging the unique talents of our organization as people to what if we could use it as a vehicle to create positive change. And so this idea of being less bad is completely different than doing more good. And I realize that's not proper grammar, but I took some liberties with my team, and we wrapped around that notion of we're going to use our business and we're going to do more good with it. And so if I think about what does that transition look like, how do we paint a picture for where we're headed as a corporation? It's from moving this notion of being simply efficient, and again using less. But what if we could create more? And so when you think about our factories as an example, could our factories become restorative? And so rather than count gallons of water saved, could we actually count native species of birds that happen to inhabit our sites? And can we transition from being an energy consumer to what if we were a net energy producer as we start to reduce our carbon footprint and shift towards not only using less energy, but producing energy that we need on site? And what if we could spin the needle backwards and start to push renewables out on the grid? And then again, the transition from the environment to health and well-being is where we're headed. So I'm going to stop there, and I think we have time for questions. So if there's questions, Dave, if you want to funnel some of those my way, I'm happy to answer them.
Thanks. Yeah, we've got a few questions. Thanks, Gabe. So one of the first questions is, do you have a green approach to packaging and delivery as well as furniture products?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'd say we do. So we set the goal 2 years ago on the Miller side, and we're going to extend that across MillerKnoll to eliminate single-use plastic packaging. So we've been taking styrofoam out as an example and eliminating the use of those types of materials, and we've reduced our single-use plastic packaging by 30%. We blanket wrap more than half the orders that come out of the Miller side of our business. And so we're using returnable packaging for anytime we have truckloads. We're able to do that with seating as well as storage products. I think if I'm really honest though, so every time we blanket wrap something, it's getting covered in stretch wrap. So we've got some work to do there, but we're definitely working on the packaging side of our products.
Great. One of the other questions, Gabe, is, Herman Miller has a reputation for having the best products. I should say MillerKnoll has a reputation for having the best products in the industry, but eventually they wear out, right? And the question then is, what happens to products after they kind of reach the end of their life cycle?
Yeah, great question. And, we've been thinking about that as well. And so from a design standpoint, right, we're designing for ultimate disassembly so we can take apart the products. And we have on the Miller side, we've got a program called Repurpose, which is a turnkey approach where it's a Herman Miller branded program. And we work with our customers and our dealer partners, and we come in and we will help remove the whole floor plate. So not just furniture and furniture from any manufacturer. And we will make sure that we'll help resell what we can, right? So I think we know, like, resell isn't often that viable, but we'll resell what we can and get some dollars for that. And then we'll work on repurposing or reusing those products. So we've got a match.com program where we take furniture and we'll put it in the hands of nonprofits. And then what we can't resell or reuse, we'll recycle, and then we'll provide recycling reports. And we can keep upwards of 95% of those used furniture products out of the landfill. And in many markets, we're cost competitive to simply send to the landfill. Yeah. And I know that the Knoll side has a very similar program. And so we're bringing the best of both those together.
Awesome. Thank you. So the final question here is, so in terms of climate change, what is MillerKnoll doing to kind of address the issue of climate change?
Yeah, that's becoming a more and more common question as we see our clients who are concerned about climate change and carbon. And so I realized I only had 30 minutes, so we didn't take a deep dive on that. But we have been working to reduce the amount of carbon in our operations and our products. And so we haven't launched this publicly yet, but we're looking at making commitments to reduce the amount of carbon inside the products that we sell, looking at cutting them in half by 2030. So we're stepping up in a big way and looking at the materials that we use and how we operate our factories and how we work with our suppliers.
Awesome. I think that was the last question, but boy, did we pack a lot of info into 29 minutes. I really appreciate you being here, Gabe, and with your presentation. It's super informative, and we really greatly value your partnership at MillerKnoll, and look forward to hearing more in the future. So thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, my pleasure. And have a great day. And please, if there was a nugget or two that's inspired you to make a difference, then it was time well spent on my end. So thanks again.
For sure. All right. Take care. Thanks, Gabe. Bye, everyone.